Striking students in Canada's Quebec province are set to vote on whether or not they'll go back to school next week. We're going to switch over to Calgary, where Press TV's correspondent Joshua Blakeney joins us. Hi, Joshua. Now, tell us the situation with these striking students. Exactly why don't they want to go back to school, and how likely is it that they will prolong their strike?
Well, the students struck several months ago with the aspiration of making the government of Jean Charest retract the proposed tuition hike, 82% hike in a country where increasingly the gap between rich and poor is metastasizing. The students were seeking to get the government to not increase the tuition fees, and the government is still intent upon doing so, although has sought to defer it to the next generation, which the students have rejected. And so now the students are in a situation where obviously, young people want to get on with their education, but they also want to be principled. And so the students will be voting on whether to prolong their strike, continue to make their demands, or to return to university education and other post-secondary institutions somewhat defeated. Of course, under the draconian Bill 78, which was enshrined in May, this is the piece of legislation which effectively bans the basic civil liberties that the Canadian Constitution purports to uphold, like freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom to have a strike, and so on. Now, this Bill 78 says if students continue striking and form picket lines to prevent those students who aren't striking entering university, that the students can have as much as $100,000 or $120,000 fine put upon them by the state. And so there's great efforts to assuage the students and to persuade them back to university, although increasingly the teaching staff and the professoriate in the universities are identifying with those who are striking amongst the students, because the professors also wish for affordable, if not free, education for the students. And so the government's not in a very strong position with the students, but unfortunately they've appealed to the wallets of the electorate, and there's of course an election coming up in Quebec on September 4th. And there are indications that some among the body politic in Quebec will be voting for Jean Charest, who has obviously appealed to tax cuts and all the kind of risible proposals that we see emanating from the political establishment these days. Okay. Interestingly, we've also seen the students come out and make some concrete demands that go beyond education. Many would critique the Occupy movement of being kind of relativistic and having not come out with any concrete, hard-hitting demands. Now, the Quebec students movement has lit a path for others to follow in that regard, because they have actually now come out as prior to this election. Okay. And so whichever political party our students are going to vote for, they have to meet these demands. And they
all right, Joshua, sorry to interrupt you. We're out of time, but I appreciate that update from Calgary. Press TV's correspondent Joshua Blakeney. And with that, that brings us to the end of this World News edition with Don't Go Away. A lot of sports next with Sheena, and Iran grabs another go. Find out who and in which sports. Stay tuned, please.